Internet people of the world, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax. For today's episode, I really want to talk to you guys about something that we learned in school last week. We did this thing called a life language test. Each and every one of us speaks these 7 different life languages, and this test just tested to see how much we speak each one. I loved this test because it really gave me a better understanding for why I am the way that I am, and why I respond this way instead of that way, and why it's hard to communicate with this person, and why is our communication style so different than mine. Like, I'm being loving, but they're not taking it as love, so why is there conflict? Like, it doesn't make sense. After the first day of taking the test, I was really excited because of those reasons, and like I was excited to finally understand why I am the way that I am, and I was excited at first, but I took a step back and thought about it, because once I had some time to process, I found myself getting a little bit upset about my answers and like what it said that I was. And so basically, my first 3 languages are called responder, influencer, and producer, and each one of those languages are very relational based. Like, they were all describing me as a very emotional person and very relationship based, and not very like business first mindset, but very like heart first and relationship first. And at first I was excited, and then all of a sudden I stepped back and I felt bad, and I was like, why am I feeling shame for getting these responses? Why am I feeling bad for being emotional and a sensitive person? Like, I feel like if I were to show these answers to someone, I'd be embarrassed about it, and I started to feel bad. I realized that, oh my gosh, I grew up being told that emotions were bad and emotions were wrong, and that being sensitive is weakness, and that, like, when I used to get hit in the head playing softball, I used to get a lot of concussions, I would make it such a point to not cry. No matter what inside of me wanted to cry, I wouldn't cry, and I'd be proud of it, and I would tell everyone, like, guess what, I got hit in the head, but I didn't cry, and it was a good thing. And I realized that that's a very small example, but that overall kind of shows that growing up, I was under the impression that emotions were wrong. And this test, looking at this test and seeing that I got these answers that says I'm actually a pretty emotional being and a pretty sensitive person, I felt bad for that, because I felt like that didn't match up to the standards that I thought I was raised under and that I grew up trying to be. It made me sad for old Jackie, because I was like, oh, that poor thing, like, I've always been this person. I've always been relationship first. Emotions have always been a key element in my life, but I realized that, oh my gosh, I've been hiding that. I've been trying to cover that up at certain times in my life, and it sucks. And so this test was kind of liberating in a way to be like, hey, this is who I am, and that's okay. And it's actually really good that relationships are so important to me, because it just shows how God created me to be and what purpose He created me for. We're all so different. If I learned anything from this test, is that you guys, we were all created with different passions and different strengths and different weaknesses, and those are okay, and we communicate differently. Another thing I saw in this test that was actually really liberating is that one of my top life languages is called the influencer. And the influencer actually is created to see things with a really optimistic view, and to see things really positively, and to be enthusiastic and excited. And I've actually been kind of shamed for that in my life too. Some people that I used to work with used to get like mad at me for being too happy and for being too enthusiastic and excited, and I felt like I was too much and I had to tone it down. Or I've been told at different times in my life that I'm scared of negative emotions, and like that I'm scared of negativity, and that I have an unrealistic mindset on the world. And you guys, it was just really liberating to look at this test and be like, actually, that's just part of who I am. It's actually just part of who I am to be enthusiastic, to be excited. It's actually one of my strengths. After I took this test, I kind of took a step back, and I took some time to just journal and kind of like process through it, I think, and something wasn't sitting right in my heart, because I felt like the answers weren't what I wanted them to be. And so I asked God, I was like, God, why am I upset about this? What's wrong? I felt like God told me that throughout my whole life, I've been trying to mold myself into something that I thought was right. Like, I've been trying to make myself this way because this is what people celebrate and this is what people want to be around. Like, people don't want to be around an emotional person, or people don't want to be around a loud, enthusiastic person, or... So basically, I was letting the world define what I thought I had to be. And when I got this test result back, and I was able to look at who I actually am, yes, I felt a little liberated and vindicated, but at the same time I was confused, because I was like, but this isn't what I've been told my whole life. This isn't who I've been told I'm supposed to be. Like, what do I have to change? What do I have to fix here to be better? Once I realized that that's how I was thinking, and that I was trying to mold myself into this like perfect person in my eyes that isn't perfect at all. It's actually just what the world made me feel like I had to be. Oh my gosh, I was so relieved and freed from the fact that I just get to be me, and I get to celebrate me and who I am. I get to work on my strengths, and I get to like realize that I don't do these things over here, and I don't have to. Like, that's just not what I'm good at. But I get to do these things over here. And maybe there's a reason I was created to love relationships and to be emotional. Maybe it was for things like these videos that I make. There's just something in me that when I live true to who I am, and when I do the things that my heart feels natural to do, I feel more alive. I feel like I'm living in my purpose, and I feel like I'm doing what I'm created to do. And so this personality test wasn't really a test. It was kind of just lifting off this veil to show me who I am and why I am the way that I am. And that's okay, that's actually beautiful. And that there's a reason that we're not all the same. People were made to need people. It's good that we're different, you guys. So we can't just keep trying to be the same and be this version that everyone wants us to be all the time like I used to do. It's wrong. It's not fair to who you actually are. Let's just celebrate who we actually are and stop trying to be somebody else. Know that that's okay, that you are the way that you are. And there's purpose in it. That's the thing, there's purpose behind every strength that you have. So yeah, I love you guys. If you want to become a part of my ministry and start supporting me, then there's a link to my Patreon page in the description box below, or if you click that box on the side of the screen that says Patreon, click one of those spots, and that's how you can learn how to get more involved in what I'm doing, become a part of my ministry, and be in my family, guys, because family is what this is all about. And I want to talk to you and learn your story and continue this conversation on further. And yeah, I love you, and I'll talk to you next week.